Hello, everyone. I thought I would take this train somewhere outside of this planet for once. I've been talking about social and political topics for a while, but believe it or not, politics isn't always at the forefront of my mind. And I want this channel to reflect topics that I actually care about. So I'm writing a science fiction book, and I've seen a lot of videos where authors talk about their process, but it's always after they've already written the book. How it got published, how it became successful, all of that. But I've never really seen anyone talk about the process while they're still writing, before they even know if their book will ever be published or if it will even sell. I know this breaks away from the theme of my earlier videos, but I didn't want to create this channel just for politics. Politics is only a small fraction of the subjects that occupy my life, as I said before, and a lot of those subjects actually intertwine. Writing, creativity, politics, social issues, all of these connect in the same web for me. So this is still me, just in a different light. I'm not going to lie, I have no idea whether my book would sell. I broke a lot of rules, you see. Honestly, I started out breaking pretty much every rule in the book, and I had to tone it down a bit. But what's left is still pretty risky. For example, I have about as many point of views as Game of Thrones, but instead of third person like you usually see in big ensemble novels, mine is all first person present tense, and I switch perspectives a lot. I also do time skips and even time travel. The story takes place in the far future, but the main character is immortal and was born in ancient Atlantis, right before it sank. The book opens up with her waking from suspended animation in outer space, about to learn that the world is on the verge of destroying itself. Then, in chapter 2, we jump to some random soldier on Earth a year later, directly experiencing that destruction. Then, in chapter 3, we move to a mysterious figure on a different planet who's trying to rescue people from Earth. In that exact same chapter, we swivel again to another perspective. A guy on the same spaceship as the main character, logging into a virtual meeting set inside an ancient Roman simulation where they debate whether saving Earth is even worth it. At one point in the story, I do a flashback to Ramona's life in Atlantis. At first, it was supposed to be a small, contained flashback, but it ended up taking over most of the book. The past started to feel more alive than the future, and before I knew it, the main setting had become almost an afterthought. It's kind of like Interview with the Vampire in that way, where much of the story unfolds through memories and reflections, while the present is framed through television interviews and fragments of modern storytelling. So to say that this has been a journey for me is putting it lightly, and honestly, it hasn't been a pleasant one for much of the ride. It hasn't been pleasant because I'm constantly wondering whether my rule breaking will end up hurting the book. And knowing that about 90% of books, or 99% of the books, don't succeed doesn't help. On top of that, I keep questioning whether I'll be able to break through the barriers of marketing and promotion, all the things I have almost zero experience in. I know it doesn't matter how good your book is if you don't have the skills to sell it, especially with self-publishing, which is what I'm thinking of doing. A great story can easily sink to the bottom of the pile simply because no one ever sees it. Right now, I've written 11 chapters, and the deeper I get, the more I realize how unusual this structure of my story really is. In my brain, it all makes sense, but that's because it's the way my mind constructed this particular story. Not necessarily how my mind would work for every story I write, it's just simply how this one took shape. But I have no idea whether readers will feel the same way, or whether I'm just wasting my time. I've been trying to decide whether people would actually be interested in hearing me talk about my book from this perspective. The struggles involved, the creative choices, and how I overcome obstacles along the way. For a while, I went back and forth on it until I realized the only way to really know is to just post a video about it and see if people show interest. Tell me what you think. Are you also frustrated that you don't hear authors talk about their struggles while they're actually writing? Do you want a more realistic look at what the process is really like, even when there's no guarantee of success? And are you interested in hearing about the writing process of authors, even if their book might fail? Since statistically most of them do? Let me know in the comments. Bye!